We pulled up to visit the group that afternoon. Pooch was there. Larry looked well. Ray seemed in good spirits. Rain was around, and Betty looked lovely. Everyone was gathered, relaxed and chatty. Ray had gotten himself a new truck. The old one had become too costly to keep fixing, so he and Betty decided to go out and get another. He put $3,000 down and was paying $300 a month. Already he'd replaced 2 tires. Needed something reliable. There was a moment of confusion. Someone thought Lauren was walking up, but it turned out to be Larry. Lauren had actually been helping out with things. Introductions followed. Betty, Lorraine, Ray, and Timmy. Funny how Larry's name sounded so close to Lorraine's. Spring had finally arrived. Just the night before, they'd been in Knoxville, passing through Pikeville. That morning, Ray had a bath and got cleaned up. Hair was washed too. It had been looking a bit wild. He was going to get a haircut later that day. Normally, he didn't like anyone touching his hair, but today was different. Maybe the beard would go too. Ray had been showing off a little table, said it came from Alabama. A friend from there had been writing to him often. She had visited once before, and now wrote him every night, without missing a day. Good people had been reaching out from all over. They were even planning to visit her again in the summer. All the recent attention had really done some good. Kenneth came around. He hadn't been on the four-wheeler lately, seemed a little wary of it. His laugh, as always, was contagious. Mark and Kenneth joined in. The lighting was tricky, shadows casting too dark, so they moved around a bit. No work that day, but Kenneth had been chopping wood, keeping busy, putting in long days. Everyone was heading out to Beckley for haircuts. Kenneth had already had his buzz cut. Didn't know anyone was coming. Timmy's hair was getting long around the ears, looking a bit like Curly from the Three Stooges. He also had a scar on his head. Looked like he'd bumped it at some point. There was a strong sense of family there. Everyone looked out for one another. The barber shop, they were going to cut both men and women. It was the Appalachian barber shop. They were expecting them. The day had started with rain, but it cleared up nicely by the afternoon. Jason had recently gotten out. He'd be great for a story someday. There'd been a rocky past. Once he pulled a gun on a visitor. But things were different now. One of the dogs had gotten hit by a car. Still hurting, bleeding a little, lost a toenail. It was rough to see. Winter hadn't been too harsh. Cold, but manageable. No heavy snow. Timmy had been holding up. Weather could be unpredictable. Some days warm, some days biting cold. Lorraine hadn't had a haircut in a while. She stayed shy around cameras but had a sweet nature. She liked to talk to the ladies. Someone had moved into a place down the road. A nice double-wide with a big yard and a proper concrete foundation. It might go up for sale, and there was talk of taking a look before heading off. The place Betty was in had issues. You could see daylight through a gap in the living room near the stove. The foundation was shifting. The creek nearby likely wasn't helping. Sometimes the water got high enough to flood the garage. Living that close to the water in a trailer could be risky. Timmy got ready for his haircut. Shoes needed tying, couldn't go like that. He held the camera while laces were tied. Then he was all set. Ray seemed to be doing well. His bed was cozy, knees healing. He had a good team helping him out. Joked about all the pretty women who worked with him. Said he took care of them and they took care of him too. People had assumed the GoFundMe went to Ray, but he hadn't seen a dime. Elle, who had once helped with things, was just an assistant. Not family. They got ready to leave. It was just after 1:30. Ray made sure to pay the toll, handed the money over, didn't keep it for himself. The flies were everywhere that day. More than usual. Lorraine got comfortable on the porch. There was talk of baby pictures, all gone now. Her brother had burned them. No one knew why. Jason didn't have any either. A sad loss. Jason came out and met Lauren. They whispered a bit. That fridge of theirs was full shrimp, sausage, and more. They were eating well. There were massive butterflies fluttering around the area. Thankfully, no bears had shown up. The first visit with the cameras had made a big impression on everyone. They still remembered it clearly. Ray had his brush out, ready for the haircut. They started loading up. Betty used to get her hair trimmed nearby. Jason had given Ray his last cut. Now they were all heading off together again. They talked about the seasons. Spring and summer were the favorites. The place stayed warm in the winter. Burning wood in the stove helped a lot. The town's name, odd, still raised eyebrows. Same with Tommy Creek. Strange names, but they stuck. The videos had brought in new friends. So many kind-hearted folks had reached out. Sometimes they picked up food from Hardee's. Other times they cooked beans, fried potatoes, spaghetti, mac and cheese. Simple, hearty meals. There was music and dancing now and then. Ray could move when the right girl was around. He hadn't had a girlfriend lately. Timmy still lived with his mom. They shared a room. Timmy was 44 now. Haircuts sometimes came with shaves. Ray could have used one. Still had a good head of hair, just graying a bit now. Used to be dark. They still went to church. Kept their faith strong. Holidays weren't the same anymore. Since Ray fell off the roof, they hadn't celebrated Christmas like they used to. That fall had changed a lot. They didn't do Halloween either. But birthdays still mattered. Timmy's had just passed. April 7th. A quiet celebration. Betty's was January 31st. Lorraine's came on September 20th. Ray's birthday was August 28th. By then, they had arrived. Time for those haircuts.